Right now in KREM 2 News at noon, we are keeping an eye on the roads right now as that snow continues to come down.
And of course we're going to talk snow. How much snow, what blowing wind does to that snow, and what it means for your evening commute home.
And some tough news for the Zags and for fans out there as another game is postponed because of COVID issues. We'll explain why this delay is a big one. Hi everyone and welcome to KREM 2 News at noon. It is good to see you in this new year. I'm Laura Papetti and we begin with a live look outside at the noon hour. Well, much of the inland Northwest got some more snow this morning. And as we take a live look over downtown Spokane, it is coated in white out there. The snow held off really until after the morning commute, but it is certainly coming down now. Other areas got hammered with several inches of snow overnight, and also blowing snow has been a problem. More than a dozen school districts canceled or delayed school today throughout the area. Right now, Snoqualmie Pass is closed in both directions from North Bend to Ellensburg. This is due to hazardous driving conditions and avalanche danger. WashDOT says the road will stay closed until at least 5 o'clock tonight, and they will be providing another update at that time. White Pass, we should mention, is also closed. So some tough news for folks maybe wanting to travel and maybe get back home if they've been over on the east side of the state. Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo, you're standing outside in the Outdoor Weather Center wearing brand new Christmas gloves, which we love.
Shout out my mom.
Good job, Mom. And you need them. And Jeremy, it looks like you're going to need them for a while.
Yeah, it's definitely that kind of forecast. And here we are in some of the snow. You can see it coming down here on the South Hill. I actually left the old boots on because it is that kind of snowy out here. Even though we shoveled it this morning, we've got plenty of snow on the ground and it continues to come down. But this is really kind of what we expected to happen a little bit earlier in the day. Notice the temperature is down to about 32 degrees. We've got that cold colliding with that incoming moisture, the incoming moisture colliding with the cold that's been in place. And that's helping to get out some of that snow, getting a little enhancement from a cold front moving through. But here you go, 36 in Coeur d'Alene, 32 in Sandpoint. Moses Lake already catching a little sun back behind the snow. And look at my hair. Oh man, growing out the long hair is sure fun, especially when it's covered in snow. But here you go, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts now starting to die down as this snow arrives. It kind of marks the onset of it, and that's going to bring us that change. Down to the south, we've expired the high wind warning for Walla Walla and Dayton as that front moves through, and down near Orofino. Excuse me, we're watching that one last just a little bit longer until this afternoon, but for the most part, it is all about the snow. Blowing snow, and a lot of it for many of us. You can see it coming down on the radar, and it will continue to do so through the afternoon, kind of getting a little more enhancement. The system keeps back building, so I think we're in it for the next few hours. It eventually moves out later on today, and then we catch a bit of a dry spell. But think of it this way, snow continues right up until about the evening commute, then we dry out, but by then you've already got snow on the road and the temperature is just above freezing. It's going to stay rather sloppy for that evening commute.
Well, speaking of sloppy, we need someone out there helping you clear off the set. Thank you, Jeremy. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. It is 12:03 right now. We do have more travel troubles to report for people flying today. Spokane International Airport currently listing more than a dozen flights that have been canceled or delayed. It follows tens of thousands of flights that were interrupted nationwide over the holiday season. And so let's take a live look right now. This is from SeaTac. Dozens of flights have been canceled there so far today. Many more have been delayed. One impact of all the flight changes, SeaTac is now dealing with hundreds of unclaimed bags at baggage claim.
Spent a little more time in a hotel than we wanted to. Wish I knew our flight, this last leg was going to be canceled before we left. We would have spent more time with family. But other than that, it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, so folks struggling to get home after the holiday season. Bad weather has also caused major delays in Denver, Atlanta, Chicago, and New York. All right, talking about basketball now. The Gonzaga men's basketball team is facing another postponed game because of COVID issues. This is according to reports from CBS Sports. The latest game impacted is Thursday's matchup with the University of San Francisco, which was supposed to be played at the Kennel. The matchup was a big one for Gonzaga as San Francisco was set to enter the game with a 13-1 record. Its best start in decades. It follows two other postponed games for the Zags in the past week. And in fact, the West Coast Conference was forced to postpone all of its games this weekend because of COVID issues. Matt Norlander with CBS Sports reports that the conference will meet today to figure out what is next and how it can adjust to the league schedule. All right, it is back to work in school for many folks today, myself included, as it comes as COVID cases continue to surge throughout much of the nation. Today, the FDA took another step in the battle against the virus, opening up boosters to more teens. Wendy Gillette has the very latest.
With millions of children heading back to class today, many of them may soon have some extra protection against COVID-19. The FDA has authorized Pfizer vaccine boosters for kids ages 12 to 15, 5 months after their last dose. The CDC still needs to sign off on the plan. Across the nation, the number of new cases reported hit an all-time high last week, nearly 500,000 in one day.
Omicron will spread. We're going to peak over the next several weeks, particularly in areas that had an early onset of Omicron, and then it'll go down afterwards.
The latest surge has some educators and parents questioning whether schools can open safely. But New York City and other big city school districts are bringing students back today.
I know there's questions about staffing. I know there's questions about testing. There's a lot of questions. But we're going to turn those question marks into an exclamation point. We're staying open.
To keep schools open, many districts are sharply increasing the number of students tested each week. In Florida, where positive COVID cases soared past 40,000 per day last week, the governor addressed the spike.
In Florida, particularly South Florida, we do believe it's overwhelmingly Omicron infections that are occurring, but Delta is still there, and most of the people that get really seriously ill are still being infected with the Delta variant.
Health experts continue to urge mitigation strategies to control COVID, like mask wearing, social distancing, and vaccines. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
And yesterday, Dr. Fauci said the CDC facing some blowback for its latest COVID isolation guidelines. The new guidelines don't require a negative COVID test for someone to exit a 5-day isolation period. Dr. Fauci says the agency may consider adding a testing requirement. So more to come. 12:07 right now. Coming in new at noon, Spokane firefighters have now determined the cause of a fire at a church on the Spokane South Hill. The fire broke out at the Bethany Presbyterian Church on South Ray Street yesterday afternoon. Investigators say it was started by an electrical short on the church's stage. Fire crews say there was no fire alarm system in the church, and if people hadn't called the fire in, it could have been much worse. Well, while the new year can mean many resolutions and a fresh start, it can also mean some new laws. So here are 3 new laws taking effect in Washington state this year. Number 1, as of today, you will need to ask for plastic utensils and condiment packets with your takeout. Restaurants will no longer automatically include them with your order. Senior nutrition programs and healthcare providers are exempt. The goal is to reduce waste and litter. Number 2, Washington Public Schools can no longer use Native American names, symbols, or images as school mascots. The Washington Superintendent's Office is providing grants to schools to pay for changing old mascots. At least 38 schools have reported they would need funding to make the change. And number 3, voting rights will be restored to those with felonies. The right to vote will be automatically given as soon as someone is released from Department of Corrections custody. More than 20,000 people stand to regain their voting rights.